Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday the 31st of May. So last day of May, maybe a bit of adjustments going on there, we'll see. But let's look on the news events first. Just bring this up and bring the calendar up for today then. So 31st. It's easy for me to say. Okay, so we've already seen the Reserve Bank of Australian Governor speaking, so that's all done. Inflation, actually, what's happened there? Let's get the numbers. That'll be good. There we go. Need to see the numbers there. So manufacturing, Chinese manufacturing came in really low. Australian inflation pushing up higher. That does start pushing some pressure on the upside potentially. For Australian rates, we'll see. We have got some German prelim numbers this morning, which could create some volatility. It runs, I say this morning, it runs through the whole of the morning. Gives us a bit of a clue. It's not a major mover, but it can create a bit of continuation or a bit of movement throughout the morning as they come out every hour or so. Right, GDP for Canada there at 130, and the FMC speaker at 530 is probably more than one. It's just, oops, nearly switched over there. Let's just check any other speakers. Fed speaker at 130, so okay, there's a few Fed speakers coming in, not just Harker, Collins, Jefferson, all coming through there. And the Swiss National Bank, Jordan, speaking at 4. So, okay, after the normal London session. Right, let's get on and look at the technicals then. Morning, Michael. So technically then, this euro remains in a downward trend. Got caught up in a consolidated move yesterday. I was looking, you can see my signal still sitting there, or my alarm's still sitting there. I was looking for a breakdown of the S1 there for a move down to the S2, but we've now got it rallied, it found support, never quite caught the weekly pivot there, and is maybe heading back there. Now, before you just jump in willy-nilly, there is a whole bundle, well, 1 point something billions worth of options sitting at 106.75, so we could see that defended, and the next level was 675 and 775, so just above it. So there is a whole raft of options that are going to expire this afternoon at that level, which, as I say, there could be some defense about them, but being so close to price, it's quite a difficult one. Right, it does look weak though, and a break of the oops, just changed pairs first, sorry. The break of that pivot could see us running through. On a daily pivot basis, looking at the hourlies on this daily pivot, we're already through the daily pivot in the S1. Yep, it could roll on. S2s have a lesser probability when the S1 and the daily pivot's already been hit, but they're reasonably pinched, not quite as pinched as yesterday, but reasonably pinched still. Right, the pound. Let's go up the time frames first, and my pivotal pivot there I've drawn on there, that's had so many hits both sides of it, is causing problems still. It's providing support at times, at the moment resistance, and looking a little bit soft here on the 4 hourly. With just sort of, it looks to me like it might want to, well, it's a bear flag in a bigger picture, and you look at the shorter time picture here, look at the hourly, and well, it did have a good day yesterday, but it's now put a lower high, and whether we'll see a continuation to the S1, we'll see. That's sort of my preference this morning. It's quite a mess though, however you look at this, it's a mess. Well, it was a mess back here, but you come up the time frames, it doesn't look quite so bad. and a break of this weekly pivot, if it can close below that, could see us running down towards those prior lows, and maybe, well, certainly the S1's not that far away, so that becomes an easy point, but there's plenty of support in these prior lows. Right, no options to talk about on any of the markets. Well, there is actually on the US dollar yen, just above the highs here, which may provide some resistance. Again, quite a big number. Trend though has been largely to the upside on the dollar yen. It got quite messy yesterday. I mentioned the double top divergence, and well, it triggered the lows between the two there, and it's hit the pivot. Now it's not just hit the pivot, instead of bouncing off the pivot, it's broken through the pivot, so maybe we'll see a bigger correction. We haven't seen much of a correction recently. It's the biggest correction we've seen for a little while at least. Okay, Aussie dollar. Now the Aussie dollar looks like it's continuing. I was looking for the breakdown. It sort of danced around yesterday, started rallying, eventually went in the later afternoon there, but it's just breaking the lows. It was too risky to take the short yesterday earlier for me, because we had the Reserve Bank of Australia governor talking, some data out there, but that still looks like it's got scope for pushing further down. Even though the inflation rate came out higher than expected, it's a weaker market. There's a lot of weakness and potential. So we've seen the output from China that has a knock-on effect to the Australian dollar, and we're seeing that at the moment. New Zealand dollar, same sort of picture here, same break here, but it was a little bit more steady and continuing to push on through at this stage. I just don't fancy trying to trade it. It's just ugly on this shorter time frame. It's slow probably, but maybe slow's good at times, but not for me at the moment. Euro yen, it's taken a bit of a rollover here. Just show you on lower time frames, it ended up getting to quite a chop yesterday, eventually breaking down, giving us a lower high through the Asian session there, and looking softer on that time frame. And well, you can see the mess it was in yesterday, providing eventually rolling over this morning, but it's gone so far this morning I wouldn't look to. It's just a range it's gone. It's maybe too far. Euro pound, just going to flick through this on the I don't know, I should do it properly, go through here. It's just starting to break down again, so we're starting to see a bit more of a trend maybe after all that chop. Generally you get a decent movement, but there's a bit of divergence by the looks of things towards the lows here. There'll be some divergence sitting there. The divergence traders would be coming into that to buy against the trend. We'll see what happens, but so it's almost a not from here situation. Euro Aussie, Euro CAD. Let's just have a look at Euro CAD. Looks softer. It's just come out there. It's into its quarterly pivot. It's struggling to break above the quarterly pivot here. It is on the shorter, or has on the shorter time frame, struggled into it this week at the moment, and coming off a bit soft. At some stage, I'm just sort of looking at the bigger picture here. We could see it collapsing. It's really a point of consolidation around these lows, and I'm just waiting to see if we get a bigger correction there. Okay, not a great deal else to Aussie CAD I was looking at. Seeing some spike L moves. This is really, unfortunately, it's a difficult one to have got into, but it is rolling. You'd probably be better off for the Aussie dollar at the moment as opposed to the Aussie CAD. Right, enough of that. Let's get on and quick look at the equity markets. Well, let's look at gold first. If I don't look at gold first, I forget to look at it. So gold yesterday, bullish engulfing, quite a nice reversal candle there, but it's only at the bottom here. The divergence is running across the lows. It has bounced and broken the high between the two lows, which may suggest a bit more upside. And you see on the hourlies here, it had a decent morning, a bit of a recovery yesterday, and we saw this through a lot of the markets, a lot of Forex markets, and it's at a diver at the moment because there'll be divergences probably across this top here. It's just yeah, if you look at the MACD here, it's diverging. RSI divergence is sitting there, so there's a divergence over the top of that as well, so a weak outlook really from where it sits. Right, oil. So biggest down day for a while. This is based on the fact that growth is being cut, expectations have been cut, and this has quite a knock-on effect. And looking soft may get a continuation of that today. I noticed that Saudi is reducing the price for Asian buyers, so that could have a knock-on effect around the globe there on the price of oil. It looks soft from where it's sitting at the moment. It's broken out its sort of wedgie pattern to the downside. Would expect further downside. Equity markets all off this morning. CSI 300 continuing its southbound. Well, no surprises there. I've been looking at that as a short for some time. The Nikkei though also catching a little bit of the maybe catching a cold, we'll see here, but certainly from that divergence across the highs there, it's pulling off. If it starts breaking over the next couple of days below this low here, the pivot, the R2 pivot, maybe we'll see a bigger correction, but it's still on for the long side at the moment. Nifty 50, that too just filled its gap then today so far. It's not quite closed yet, but just come, they all seem to roll over together at times, and this is one of those times. And just looking just a tad softer, but still in a decent upward trend. Can't lose shape of the trend. Aussie 200, that's now, after all that time consolidating and dancing around, it has broken the lows here, and to me now you can see the trend developing more. It's certainly one for the swingers. Well, I don't know, day traders may have actually made some decent money out of this, just looking at some of these moves here. There's some reasonable 4-hourly shifts on this market. It's quite a nice market when you look at it like this. Come down to the hourlies, look at those lovely trends, lower highs, lower lows coming through. Perhaps I need to get up at midnight. I'll not go to bed. Anyway, looking a bit more solid now for sure. S&Ps, it's interesting, you just sometimes discount the market, and you come down and you look at the intraday and you think, wow, that's actually looking quite nice amongst its mess. S&Ps, well, it's looking quite nice amongst its mess probably, but it is quite short in terms of what's happened here. It's still very much on the upside trend in the bigger picture. I'd be wary of this. The big money's still coming back into it, and it's been loading their positions, which maybe we've got some more upside to come yet. The Dow struggling and continues to struggle. Dow, the 30 stocks there, just not got the same traction. Lower highs, lower lows. Still, looks if you're going to bet on the soft one, there's the soft one. The Nasdaq, well, wouldn't be betting against this at the moment. Yes, we may have some corrections on days like this, but it's still in a firm upward trend for me. The DAX, finally got the right DAX on my list here, and yeah, this is said this yesterday, it's typical. So this might look a bit soft, and what did it do? It did come down initially. In fact, where are we? It did come down initially, got down to the previous lows and ran back up there, but well, it's had quite a shift off this morning. Again, it's sort of one sneeze and the rest have got flu by the looks of things. It does look soft at this stage. On the bigger scheme of things, maybe we will see a bigger correction on this market. FTSE. Well, this is in proper corrective move here. It's into a third wave of this overall movement here, and looking soft. It's lost its place as a darling at the moment, and nowhere near its previous highs. We've seen this move down through its daily S1 here. There's a chance it will run off to the S2 there post 8 o'clock. I should watch that this morning as it runs through, but certainly looking on the softer side of things. Right, here are the equity markets. It's a Wednesday, so I'll have a quick look at your cryptos. Bitcoin, it's not been messing around on those lower time frames. Bitcoin, well, coming off again. There's no surprise. They're sort of all following the markets. Dollar strength coming through a little bit here again. Ethereum, same picture. Chainlink, same. Just slightly adjusted, but the same picture coming through here. Litecoin sometimes doesn't do so badly, but it is coming off, or has come off this morning so far, and looking a bit softer. The old famous favourite old Ripple. Ripple still holding quite well, actually. It's done pretty well overall, and it's after me getting a bit disappointed with it, obviously it took heart, and it's been rallying pretty much ever since. Consolidated, bit of a mess around its highs here on the lower time frames, just looking at what's going on here, but may just be seeing some consolidation around the high before it has its next move, perhaps. Although that was a big old move yesterday. If it can't do too much today and sticks with a bearish harami here, well, maybe we've got a bit more correction to come. Right, okay, that's pretty much it for me today. I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning. There's some of these things will develop, I'm sure, through the morning, so looking forward to getting on and trade them. Take care, have a good one, bye for now.